Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Joffrey Noodle Legs here today with a top 10. Today I'm going through top 10 films um, that make Britain an evil place, if you like. So these films are all based around sort of Britain. Uh, so not always when you see on YouTube a lot of people are always saying, oh, I love to go to Britain and I love to live there and do all that. Is it the greatest place on the planet? According to these films, it makes it probably not the nicest place on the planet. So there's a few honourable mentions that did make the top 10 because they're obvious and I've covered them so many times. American Werewolf in London is one, obviously. So I'm not putting that in there because I've had it in so many top 10s. The Omen, I've actually got it here. I won't put that in there. That's also based in Britain most of the time. 1 and 3 are. Number 2 is mostly America. And The Woman in Black, also based in sort of Britain. I haven't put that in there either, simply because I've put it in so many top 10s. And this one I've not put in there, just because I've run out of space. But it's a really cool film, and it's Ennie's Men. This one is based in Cornwall. So is Cornwall a really, really heavenly place? Watch Ennie's Men and find out if it is or not. That's quite a new film. There's a review of that coming in my channel in a few weeks' time. So keep your eyes open for that. So here we go. Top 10 horror movies that make Britain an evil place. So I've called this video Top 10 Horror Britain. So there we go. Number 10 is a comedy horror, and it's Sightseers. Now this is pretty much based around just two normal British people doing like a backpacking sort of caravan tour of Britain, and they're going around killing people on their ventures. It's a very sort of dark black comedy film, extremely funny. But it's like you will want to meet people like this when you're on holiday here in Britain. So yeah, beware of British people. All right, so that's number 10. British teenagers are also people to sort of like be wary of when you come over here. Number 9 is Eden Lake. It's about this couple that go out on this sort of like weekend sort of thing, and they're out in this by this lakeside, and they get terrorised by this group of teenagers. And it's a sort of really nasty, scary sort of film. It's quite disturbing. Again, it's another view of Britain. So just let you know, guys, that these are films. Britain is great. It really is. It's just these are films, sort of prediction of Britain. There's loads I could have put in here, but I just went with these 10. Number 8 is Killer's Moon, which is pretty much about these school kids going on a trip, and there's where they're going. There's like this a mental institution where these 4 people have escaped, and they terrorise these girls that are at this sort of hotel place. It's quite a dated film, but it's still quite scary and eerie. Killer Moon. So you wouldn't want to go it looks very much, I don't know, very Yorkshire-y. So that's why I put it in there. I don't think it is based in Yorkshire, but it just looks like it, and so that's why I put it in there. Killer's Moon. Next one, another British sort of one that I don't talk about really very much, and this is called Kill List. This is number 7. This is about these 2 crooks and their families, and there's an in-depth story to them. That one of the wives are part of this sort of witchcraft coven, and it's a very sort of dark sort of film. A lot of these films are going to be witchcrafty because witchcraft was prolific here in Britain back in the day, and you know how I feel about witchcraft. So I love it. So yeah, this is like an occult sort of film about these 2 crooks that get mixed up, and their wives are sort of like mixed up with this occult thing, and it sort of unwinds to a completely different story to how the film starts off at. So Kill List is in at number 7. Number 6 is one of many horrors based on British Railway. and it's going to go to Creep. This is based on the Underground train, about the creeper that lives in the underground, played by Sean Harris, and he's sort of like been killing people off and living in the underground, in the sort of like tunnels, and he's sort of like killing people off. And so Creep is in at number 6. So down to the top 5, we've got another witchcraft one here. This time with sort of like evil children. We're going to be looking at Blood of Satan's Claw, which is based in like an old, it's based way back in sort of, I suppose, medieval kind of times, just past that sort of period. And it's like a little village, and the children there are all these sort of Satanists. And it sort of follows along the story of them and how they torment the adults in the village and other kids that are in the village. It's quite a disturbing film, but it's really, really cool. Blood on Satan's Claw. Bit of a slow burn, but a really cool film. Number 4 is a classic sort of fantasy horror by Clive Barker, and that's Hellraiser. Again, this is based in Britain, in like a traditional sort of old sort of Victorian house that this family have brought, and the husband's brother has been living there, and he's had this sort of like box that's opened a gateway to hell. It raises this sort of minions from hell, if you like, which are called Cenobites, and it's a story of his brother's wife's lust for him so much that she wants to help him revive, because he's been sort of like ripped apart by these sort of like Cenobites, but blood can bring him back to life. So it's a story sort of based on that, and it's got a load of sort of sequels. 2 and 3 take the story to a bigger place, which is more around the box than the same sort of characters. So it's a great sort of franchise, but the first one is based here in Britain. So yeah, not such a gentle place, is it? We're quite evil here. And number 3, we're back on the railway again, back on the underground, quite similar to Creep. And number 3 is Deathline. This is a 1970s film with Donald Pleasance, and this is based on like when they built the railway, the underground, loads of people, lots of the underground routes have all been sort of closed off because they've fallen down and broken down, and lots of people, when they were building the railway, were stuck in there, and they ended up living in there, you know, until they sort of died of no air and things like that. But there was one area where there was obviously air coming through, and a group of people managed to survive there, and they turned into like cannibals, but we're only down to like 2 of them that are left. So it's about them, and about them sort of like picking on people that come into the underground, a bit like Creep, and live and feeding off them sort of thing. So this is a really cool, different sort of film, Deathline. Really underrated. I absolutely loved this film. I think I reviewed it on my channel, gave it like a 9 out of 10. I might have even given it a 10 out of 10. It's a really cool film, really underrated horror film. And it is quite scary and eerie, especially if you know London Underground. And it's got some great shots of the underground back in the sort of 70s. And to me, this is Donald Pleasance's finest role. He's absolutely fantastic in the film. Number 2 is more of a sort of fictional one by Hammer, starring Eric Porter, and it's called Hands of the Ripper. And this is about, obviously, in London, about the sort of like this girl's mother had a baby. I think it was a descendant from Jack the Ripper, and she keeps getting flashbacks and turns into like a sort of killer herself. So it's quite a cool, different sort of film. Really good film for Hammer, I think. One of their underrated films. It's quite gory, and it's quite a different take on the Jack the Ripper story, but more from the offspring of Jack the Ripper, and I really like that. So number 1 can only be Off to the Summer Isles, can't we, for Christopher Lee in The Wicker Man. Well, this is pretty much the definitive British horror movie. It's based on this little island off Scotland, and a girl's gone missing. Lauren's gone missing, and the policeman played by Edward Woodward goes to the island to investigate the girl's missing. And it turns out he discovers the whole island is like a pagan sort of celebrating pagan sort of witchcraft, and it's got the ultimate sort of like horrible climax of the film. And Christopher Lee sort of runs the island, and it stars a very young and beautiful Britt Eklund. It's such a cool film, such an amazing horror film. It's quite long and it's quite a slow burn, but it's worth watching because it's nothing more British than this, I don't think. It really captures a lot of Britain, the folk music of the time, and I just think it captures so many elements of Britain so well that it's fantastic. So as you can see, that's my top 10 horror of Britain. So Britain's not the most innocent place as you think, right? Look at all these evil things. There are other films I was going to put in here, like Howl and stuff like that. I mean, Dog Soldiers, but I don't like Dog Soldiers, so I don't even own it because I don't like it. But yeah, but I also stay clear of films like, people say, well, why haven't you put Dracula or Frankenstein? Because yes, they're British films on Hammer, but this isn't about British movies. This is about Britain, and they're not about Britain. Dracula's not in Britain, is it? So, and Frankenstein is not in Britain either. So I couldn't put them in there. These are about films that are to celebrate Britain, you know, and the evil that we are. There's some great films. There's a film called F, which is about a slasher film about a kid tormenting his kids at school. It's a slasher movie, really cool. Hush, about a guy who kidnaps this girl in the back of his lorry and is chases through the motorway of Britain. It's a really cool films out there. 24 Days Later. Again, I wanted to stay clear of obvious films and sort of delve into a few that maybe you've not heard of or seen before, like Kill List. You know, or Hands of the Ripper, or Deathline. And Deathline is fantastic, but I had to top it up with the classic Wicker Man, because that is probably my favourite British horror movie as well. So it's fantastic. So there we go. There's 10 movies that make Britain look a bit more sinister than you first thought it was. Any of you guys got any sort of recommendations of films that make Britain look sort of like sinister? Let me know down below if you have, and I will comment. I'll reply to them, and I'll try and look out for them if I haven't got them and give them a watch, because I'm always on the good lookout for recommendations, guys. So please recommend films to me, especially genre films like witchcraft films and stuff like that, because you know I'm a big sucker for that. Always comment down below. Always look forward to hearing from you. Till my next video, check out some horror channels for me. Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzawell, I'm the Ice Lord, Sarah of Horror, Cat Watches Horror Movies, and Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. And a massive shout out to my lad. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.